What up, what up, what up?
Yo, 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 what's happening, man?
Welcome to another dynamic, incredible, stupendous episode of Religiously Incorrect, y'all.
Sunday night service, we here. Go ahead and tap that screen.
Get ready to testify.
Invite somebody in. Hit
Mike's
that
mom already testified.
share.
Mother Marsh already testified. We started our testimony service.
Mother Marsh don't even got to come on the show tonight.
She don't have to come on the show.
She done preached and everything.
Testified. Hey, it's a good night, man.
It's a great night. As y'all can see, we are not here alone
Not by
again.
ourselves.
We are excited to present to y'all, to talk to y'all, and to bring with us and have with us on today the president of the NAACP Cleveland chapter, Kayla Griffin. Y'all give her a big
y'all.
cyber.
Nobody's watching, but yeah, give
It's
some
all
hand
good.
claps.
Nobody's watching. Yeah, there we go. It don't matter. They'll be on in a minute. We'll
Welcome, Kayla.
We'll reintroduce you.
Thank you for
having
being with us. We're just going to throw you into the mix of our show. You can just jump in whenever you want to. This is the part of the show when Pastor Jeff tells us who we're sponsored by.
And today we are sponsored
I
by
didn't try to do it without notes.
the African American Community Fund. The African American Community Fund, established in 2020 at the foundation of Appalachian, Ohio, supports Black-led and Black-serving organizations throughout 32 counties of Appalachian, Ohio, to elevate the quality in life and address disparities in African American communities. Check them out at www.appalachianohio.org/AACF or call at 740-753-1111.
Somebody been practicing.
Yes, sir.
Practicing.
That man can read.
What's up?
In front of a mirror.
He
What's
can read.
up?
You can read.
That boy can read. He good.
Hey, that's like a requirement of being a preacher. You gotta be able to read.
Well, no, it ain't.
Yeah, you're right. You can have somebody else read for you, like the old school cats.
Read.
All right, stop. All right, good to see you, Mo, Sarah,
Jameson.
Jameson Funkenstein.
Funkenstein.
I love this name.
Yes,
I love this name. Well, man, what's poppin'? It's the end of October, and we know what that means. It means it's Halloween, Thanksgiving,
Trick or
Christmas.
treat. Smell my feet. Give me something good. to
Nobody
eat.
even says that anymore.
They don't say nothing no more. They just come around. They just be thugging now. Man, where your candy at, dog?
Man, I wish I could upload the picture. I should have had Mike do it. My boy went as Michael Jackson from The Wiz.
I saw it. It was
He
great,
went
man.
trunk or treat.
It was great.
As Michael Jackson from The Wiz. Ease on down the road. He even had the little walk going, but I had to tell him to stop because there might be some special needs kids around us, disabled.
Right.
I didn't want him to come off as offended because he was doing it real good. I'm like,
Shake, yeah.
yeah, you don't want to get canceled, son. You're 9 years old.
They will cancel you in a minute.
And cancel. But we had a massive trunk or treat on the west side.
Mm-hmm.
Pastor Jeff's wife, Tiffany, shout out to Tiffany Stanford. She initiated what I
The
know
new
to be
Fifth Ward Council
the new
lady.
Fifth Ward Council
What
lady.
you know about Tiffany, yo?
Initiated the east side trunk or treat with your partners, over here on the east side of town in Warren, and it was just an amazing, positive night Thursday night, and just about every night somebody is having some sort of trunk or treat, event, and so what we're not going to debate is Halloween itself. Because we already lost it before the show started. But
We lost.
But I do want to ask, hey, Rashad, hey, good to see you, man. And he gave us a subject we got to talk about.
Rashad did?
Yeah, he gave us a good subject. We need to talk about church welcomes and why are we still doing church welcomes.
Ain't nobody coming.
to church, right? We welcome you once.
Do we have any visitors? Ain't nobody else there. We know it's the same.
With the visitor church, please stand. We went to a church recently, Old School Fellowship, and they got up and did the whole with the visiting church, please stand, and the representative.
And you
I'm
gotta have a response from
I'm
the
trying to make
visiting
most of
church.
my wife say something.
Right.
What's wrong with you?
Hey,
We're just glad to be here. We felt the Holy Spirit when we walked in. Nigga, no, you didn't. You smelled that chicken.
when I was at
and
Beulah,
perfume.
as many churches as I went to, as much as I was going around, I just automatically told somebody before we went, make sure you're prepared.
You respond to the welcome.
respond.
I love the response. It's like you haven't actually received the guests unless they responded to your welcome. Like, what if you refused to?
Is this a Baptist thing?
Yes. Well,
Kinda,
yeah. She said
It is
it's
kind of a Baptist thing. It is kind of they don't do welcomes in Pentecostal church, the Apostolic church.
Not where it was a call and response.
Non-denominational. They didn't do that?
Not a call and response. Just stand. We receive you.
They would be like calling like
We
somebody.
clap.
They would awkwardly wait.
No, they gotta say, we welcome you once.
We welcome you twice.
We did that in Kojic.
We welcome you in the name of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But did you expect somebody to
Kojic get
respond?
responses. Kojic would do responses. He was always somebody's first lady or whoever was the loud talker from the church. Whoever your loud talker was. They would do it.
And they had to say something. We thank you.
You didn't have to welcome us. We already felt welcome.
We felt
walked
welcome.
in here.
I'm in the body of Christ. I'm in the family.
We all in the family. So anyway, the question is, thanks for Sean for that. Thank you for that.
Hey, Pastor
total
Glenn, how you
detour.
doing, Doc?
Oh, good to see you, Reverend Glenn. The question is, with all these trunk or treats happening, there have been at least 3 or 4 every night since like Wednesday. Have trunk or treats officially replaced trick or treat?
I think it has. I mean, I think there's still some people who just a little greedy. They're gonna come to the trunk or treats, then they're gonna go, and I mean, it's just something for.
Is that greedy though, or is
I don't
that
know if
just
it's greedy. It's
smart?
It's smart.
Candy's
Well,
expensive.
how's it smart when your teeth gonna fall out sooner or later?
They're
That
gonna
ain't
fall
too
out
smart.
anyway. That's what my brother would say. I'm gonna die happy.
But trick or treat, like that's the door to door thing.
Right.
Door to door, and it took some effort. You had to like walk a neighborhood.
For sure.
Well, and I think now it's a lot different because when I was growing up, it was every street, all the lights were on,
Correct.
people were outside.
Correct.
Now you got to literally find the streets.
Oh, you had to take
at least
your
around
kids,
here.
You have to take your kids to the nice neighborhood.
Right, exactly.
And you know what are the nice trick or treat neighborhoods for those who do imbibe in trick or treating? It's the ones where they always have the nice Christmas lights and stuff too.
Exactly. Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's where you go. But now there's like a blowback because now they're bringing all these people into the community that they don't want there, but the people are coming in knowing that that's where the good candy is at. And I'm pretty sure some of these houses, they have 2 buckets like for the kids they know live there and the kids.
Hey, that one of the kids just stand up and stand in the window, and they see one of us, they just turn off the light.
You get one jelly bean.
Keep on going, son.
But there's less kids coming now.
There are less
There's
kids
less
coming.
kids, and the time is only what, 2 hours? It's
Yeah. It's
when
2
I was
hours.
growing up,
You
it
can't
was
be
all
out after
night.
dark.
Oh yeah, it was
crazy.
I was out at 11 o'clock at night trunk or treating.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Trick or
Times
treating.
is different.
It is different.
Times are different. Can't nobody afford to buy candy for truck. That is
Listen,
true.
That is true.
Candy is like I could have bought some steaks for the candy I bought.
I spent $250.
No, you didn't.
I spent $250.
I would king size.
I would for your trunk.
Because I done my trunk, I done Tiffany's trunk, and I done Asia's trunk.
This is why I'm the coordinator of the trunk or treat. I don't actually have a trunk. I'm the one that makes the flyer. It says the press release out.
I bought two boxes of chips.
Okay.
Were $20 a piece. No, they was $40 a piece.
Pastor Jeff, you know what it cost me to walk around and say thank you for coming? Thank you for coming.
You should have recorded that video, though. I didn't know that.
We had some controversies. Brother Greg said it right. They haven't yet, but it's coming, and it's safer. Pastor Todd, that was a great way to put it. Nice Christmas lights. Exactly. Wherever the Christmas lights will be is where you can get good candy.
Absolutely.
And we make it bad for ourselves. Let's be clear. Those of us that derive from the hood, because we really will pile people up in the conversion van.
Oh, absolutely.
Drop them off on a corner and just let them loose. Like we don't know what's about to happen.
Let them loose.
And good and well, we in stand your ground era. This is MAGA country.
Your street is one of the streets that people go trick. Because my daughter loved going, no, you don't got no Christmas lights.
We're going a little downhill. I refuse Christmas lights. I refuse Christmas lights.
That is the only person on the street with
No Christmas lights. Well, the Wiccans and the witches.
Hey,
Go there.
The witches and the witches use these lights to attract spirits and sacrifice babies. So I'm just trying to keep my family pure. That's what I tell my children.
All you need is the blood.
I ride down Toss. Ride down Toss. Everybody else's house be all lit up. Ethan and Elias be outside blinking their eyes. Like, what is going on?
My house over here looking like Transylvania.
Hey, Shamika be asking every year, Todd, we gonna do the Christmas lights.
I always promise.
Ain't gonna happen.
Never happens. It never happens. Sorry, baby. But trunk or treat has become the safe alternative to trick or treating. And I'm just talking as an activity.
Right.
Forget the holiday in general, but just the activity. Hey, Mother Marsh, how are you doing? trunk or treat's just become the thing. But it's because, again, trick or treat used to be longer, used to be more people participating. We used to come home with sacks. I mean, a pillowcase. Okay. But now you can go trunk or treating for a week straight. The mall has it. The schools have it. The churches have it. Community organizations have them. That, to me, that is too much. I'm not going to anything else.
Absolutely. Well, I was actually telling people when they were coming to Eastside, I said, there's another one over there with y'all.
So you did that.
So I was seeing them I was like, no, it's almost like a food stamp line over there, but
listen,
y'all can go over there if y'all want.
Brother, we have Depression era bread lines all the way down Todd Avenue. I'm like, this is not that serious.
Hey, you come over here, you can see, I'm like giving out hands of candy. I'm like, here, just.
And that's the funny thing, because we this is no joke. We think we had close to 2,000 people at the Second Baptist Jefferson Trunk or Treat. I'm going to give my church credit because we started this thing.
That's right.
We had over 1,600 people last year, and we had several hundred people more than that this year. And it was so funny watching the people. We warned them in advance. We get an inordinate amount of people, and we warned them. And they still come with just a couple bags of candy, and they got the nerve to try to give people handfuls like the first 10 minutes.
That's
then they see how long the line is. They be like, okay, one. And after a while, they opening up the M&Ms, and they like, one.
Y'all still giving out Chico sticks.
Mary Jane.
Remember those rings?
Oh, yeah.
Candy rings?
You get one.
Just one.
But yeah, so trunk or treat has become the thing, but it's another like seasonal, annual, holiday, traditional, whatever, that's like totally shifted now.
It is.
And I get it. I had the suggestion that every school, because Warren has 4 major schools,
right,
they should do their own I guess regional, whatever you want to call it, kind of thing. But as you can see, once one, which ours is like the big one, once one gets going, it gets out of hand. Everybody goes, and
I think if you've done that though, if you've done all 4, if we done Willard and our McGuffey done one, and
right,
all do the alls, and I mean, I think it may even it out. I think it may,
good,
but I think you have to have the right people. You have to have the help. And
well, I know how to thin out the crowd. We just start passing out tracts and. Listen,
right?
Because there's some church out there doing that, tricking people into coming, and ain't nothing but a communion wafer in there.
Why not have like the trick or treat wobble?
The
wobble. You just wobble in the parking lot.
We had people doing line dancing. No, we actually had.
Say more.
Tell us more about this.
We didn't do it. I'm just saying. I just think it's a good idea.
And here's the other thing. Now the trunk or treat. But you know what else? And this is religiously incorrect. You know what we've also lost in the trunk or treat? Hallelujah nights. Nobody's having Hallelujah nights anymore. Mm-hmm. That used to be the Halloween alternative.
Absolutely.
Basically a harvest party. Instead of doing a Halloween party, the church would do basically a Halloween-less Halloween party.
Well, I think that was more. I think that
they pumpkins with no jack-o'-lantern. Like you can't cut the
pumpkin.
Well,
they would do the. You
got to draw Jesus on the pumpkin. A lot of people would do
the what is that? The fire.
Bonfire.
The bonfire, and I think that became the devil thing there with the bonfire.
You think the bonfire became? I thought that became the like devil bad thing.
Oh,
the
yeah,
good
the
thing.
devil bad thing.
I know a church. There was 2 churches I know they were doing like a s'mores bonfire thing.
I'm just saying that.
So you're saying they're the devil? Is what you're saying.
No, I'm not saying that.
Oh,
I'm saying that's what social media and
started
that,
to take
and I think that's why that kind of drifted off.
You think that drifted off? Yeah, I mean, it's just become a changing time.
Pastor Bowie.
I don't know if it's bonfire. I think it's not a lot of people that's volunteering to come out and set up a carnival
There's
style.
Now that's true. People
we would have carnival in the gym, and you would have stations. You got to have enough volunteers to man it. You got to have enough candy.
Saints ain't got a mind to work no more. That's the problem.
Come on, sir.
Saints ain't got a mind.
Nehemiah said, and we had a mind to work.
Now was the one year we did the trunk or treat at the church. It was a little, what's up, Pastor Tatum from Brooklyn? It was a little disconcerting because the neighborhood lost, and it goes back to trick-or-treating versus trunk-or-treating. Mm-hmm. Trick-or-treating, you send your kids out, but you also have your house passing out.
Right.
Okay? Trunk-or-treat has become this, I just go somewhere and get but don't participate.
Right.
And we were in the neighborhood, obviously being right next to the housing project next door, to watch all the people just walk out their houses. Their cars are right there in the driveways. And they're not thinking about, I should sign up and come be a part too.
Right.
They're just thinking, I'm going to come get this, go back home, and it's all done. So that participation thing has definitely left the culture, where it's almost like create something like businesses, organizations, schools, churches, but neighbors aren't doing it. You know what I mean? Like neighbors aren't doing it. The same thing with these events where we don't always have enough volunteers in our churches or organizations to do. We're running a few people ragged, like crazy. So.
Well, we got to move on. We got to get on. Listen, y'all tell me, how many of y'all out there, how many of y'all got y'all light on? How many of y'all are opening up y'all doors and giving out candy? Y'all put it in the comments if y'all giving out candy, because I'm coming over. I want some more recent
giving out
cups.
scriptures, prayer.
And who ever done the treat? No, the trick.
You've never been tricked before? I mean,
It's trick or treat. It's supposed to be a trick or a treat. Who done the trick?
I mean,
The witches.
I've thrown a few. The Wiccans. Bad teenagers. I mean, I've thrown a few eggs in my day.
At a house?
Yeah.
The devil.
Man, what are you talking
You
about?
are. Boy,
Hey,
you
listen, remember, hey, listen, Dad moved us out there with them white kids and we got influence. Next thing you know, we were
Out there
out
with
there.
the colonizers.
Rotten eggs with the colonizers. Rotten eggs, TP in houses, mailboxes.
Was you cow tipping? Because you was out
I
in the
never
country.
cow tipped. I never went cow tipping. That was my breaking point. They were like, "We're going cow tipping." I said, "I'm going home." They would literally go out into the field and like push over a sleeping cow, and they thought it was hilarious.
Nah, Doc.
White,
No,
white,
no,
I
come
love
on now.
y'all. You
Is
know, we
that-
love everybody, but y'all white people, y'all different.
Is that real? I mean, a cow is 2,000 pounds. How you gonna tip over
It's
a cow?
not too hard, man. They have a terrible center of gravity.
You just trip or you use your foot.
It only takes like two or three dudes.
Back in the day.
All right.
It only takes like two or three dudes if they're sleeping to like push them over. Because I mean, look, they got them little
They
cracky
like
legs.
sleepers.
They got them little
already
Magic Johnson
tired.
legs, you know, and then you know how
Magic Johnson legs.
you remember Magic Johnson? He had the big. Okay, but anyway,
All
yeah.
the people out there in Farmington right now, like Todd, always talking about Wakanda forever, and he was
I was
out
right
here
out
with
there with
everybody
y'all. I was right out there with you.
riding 4-wheelers.
I love riding 4-wheelers. Still do.
Yeah, I love
Go-kart?
riding your dad's go-kart. too.
Correct. We be out there in the country being country in the mug. See, Pastor Glenn is being honest. I will eat most of the candy myself. Now, here is what I'll be upset about. My kid. Oh, by the way, I did take privilege because when we got there was already a line going around the school. And Ethan said, "Oh, I'm going to be in the back of the line." I said, "No, you're not, son. You're the pastor's son. You're getting this candy first. You better ease on down the front of the line." Now, New York, that's what I'd love to know. What is New York trick-or-treating like?
Lord have mercy,
Trick-or-shooting.
man. Out there in the, what's it called, Bikini Greens or something like that?
Bikini greens.
Ain't that what Candyman was?
What?
Y'all ain't never watched Candyman.
Them your websites you be going to.
Y'all ain't never
man.
watched
Bikini
Candyman.
Greens.
Yeah.
I
Y'all ain't never
never
watched-
seen. I went out to watch Candyman. I was saved.
Oh my God.
I've never seen the Jason movies.
Candyman was
Freddy
in Chicago,
Krueger.
wasn't it?
Was it Chicago?
Or at least the remake that they just did was in
Yeah,
Chicago.
with the black dude.
I've never seen any of these horror movies. I was saved.
Holiness is still right.
Holiness is still. We still preach holiness over here.
I ain't seen none of these, but I watched all the skimpy ones.
Fast Times at Richmond High, meatballs,
We are dumb. We are
Spaceballs, whatever it was called.
Let's
All right,
go.
well, what are we doing next? Oh, it's time for meme of the week. All right, bring it on.
Meme of the week. Meme of the week.
Welcome to Religiously Incorrect, ladies and gentlemen.
Meme of the week. Meme of the week.
Thank you. Send us your memes of the week.
Meme of the week. Meme of the week.
we are, these are all jokes. We are just playing.
You said Cabrini Green? That's what it was called? Cabrini Green? All right. This is why I stay in holiness. Okay, y'all. So we're back to a picture meme. We've been doing videos for a while. What was last week? The lady that faked passing out during the sermon? Yeah, that was a video. And so she's whack. We hope she's out the ministry by now. But This one I did not tell my co-host what it was going to be because I found it amusing. So y'all just have to deal with my sense of humor. The Lord is soon to come, and just in case the Lord comes back before you make preparations, go ahead. Worried about your pets after the rapture?
Oh my God.
After the rapture, pet care. Be prepared for the care of your pet. This is important. For just $9.99 a month, you can register your pet to be professional. You can register your pet to be cared for after you are raptured. So it's your cat until Jesus comes back.
Okay.
All of our staff have been hand selected. Listen, this is important. Based upon the love of animals first, but most importantly to ensure that they are either atheists or non-Christians. Because what's the point of signing up if they're going to heaven anyway?
Okay.
So,
Pastor Kid.
listen,
Pastor Kid.
this is important. What will you do with Fido when the Lord returns? Y'all love cats more than dogs more than people anyway.
Listen.
So I feel this is an important service, and I think more
Let's
people
ask
need to
Michael
sign up.
Vick what he would do. Let's ask Michael Vick what he would do.
Too far. Too far. Too far.
Here come the colonizers. But I think this is about, somebody's probably making money off of this. And if they're not, then I'm going to start.
Go ahead.
I'm going to start.
Somebody will pay for it.
And I'll be gone. I mean, they can't come after me for fraud because I'll be gone.
There is a group of people who will pay for this.
Somebody will find value in that.
Have Chat GPT write you up a contract and it's on.
Exactly. And you know, you don't want your pet to get the mark of the beast. You know, you won't be able to buy, you need somebody that's willing to get the mark.
Right.
Because they won't be able to buy dog food or cat food or, you know, aquarium supplies if they don't have the mark. Isn't that what they taught us? You can't buy or sell, and that includes, you know what I'm saying? Kibbles and bits.
It's too much.
So after Rapture Pack, so was it better than Moe's?
It was definitely different. It was definitely different.
It was good. It was
So-
not better. It was
So
good.
maybe we could just ask a question to finish the segment off. What do you think happens to pets after the rapture?
All dogs go to heaven.
Okay.
You didn't know that?
My wife
That's in the Bible.
firmly believes that.
That's in the Bible somewhere. I don't know.
Now, speaking of all dogs go to heaven, that is another movie I wasn't allowed to see because they had a drinking scene in it. They had like a bar scene and they were like drinking.
Hey, only thing you was allowed to watch was the Dukes of Hazzard. That was it.
I was allowed to watch Superbook. Remember Superbook?
No, I don't remember.
It was like a Christian cartoon.
Don't look at me. I'm a
You never
millennial.
watched? You're
What are
what?
you, a millennial? What are you, like a...
Yeah, don't.
Xer?
Don't
I don't know anything about that.
Don't do this. Mo wasn't allowed to watch Cat Dog. I wasn't allowed to watch Ren and Stimpy.
Cat Dog.
Cat Dog. Was it a dog on one
Yeah,
side
I
and a cat on
remember
the
that.
other?
That's just,
It was a little-
I can't
I
believe
was
you that
told it was
young.
evil for a cat and a dog to be one body.
I hope she ain't watching
Your mother
this.
probably watching. You know your mother is watching. You know your mother is watching. She about to chime in a few minutes. She about to chime in. You was upstairs sneaking watching Cat
Now,
Dog.
to Jason's point, before we move on, there are people who are selling survival kits, and we sat in a meeting recently of ministers, and the guy told us that we all need to get ready because none of our churches are properly equipped for the coming apocalypse. And I'm like, I thought the whole point was for us to not be here. What am I building a bunker for?
Building a bunker, and you got to have running water and beds and everything. You got to have. The church needs to be able to turn into.
He said only one church in this area has showers.
Right.
What are we doing here?
I don't know.
Well, to be clear, Second Baptist Church is still a certified bomb shelter.
That's right.
So send your pets and your cats to Second Baptist. What I'll do is, when I feel the Trump kind of sounding, I'll prop the door open at the church.
And I'm telling
in case
y'all
somebody's
right
cat
now,
wants to get
if
in.
y'all want to get in the Second Baptist when this stuff hit,
You gotta be a tithe.
I'm charging y'all $20.99 to get
Yeah.
in. I'm
Yeah,
charging.
we're-
I'm
So
charging.
you still
out the
gonna be
door.
here?
No, I'm coming with. Not the rapture. I'm talking about if a bomb.
Oh, if
comes.
a bomb hits,
If
that's
a bomb's
correct.
hit, I'm telling you, I'm gonna get in. Me and Todd,
Now,
we
if the
like this.
rapture
I'm getting
does,
in.
if the rapture comes, I got that one unsaved deacon. He'll be watching the door still, so
Oh,
he'll
yeah.
still be there to make sure that whoever comes was actually given before Jesus came back. So if you have a meme and you'd like to send it, we probably won't use it, but just send it anyway. But we do have one in on deck already. We're not gonna let Mo down, so we'll use it next time. I can tell she's low key offended already. She might be in church. She might. I thought my pet rapture graphic was good though, so
It was great.
We'll put it up. We'll put it up. I did have one more that I was going to put up. Our friend Bishop Bellinger. Did you see the one he put about the curtain cords?
I didn't see it.
He put up a stack of curtain cords and he said, "Preachers, these are curtains, not clergy cords. Stop putting them on
Oh
you."
my God.
I said, "Man, somebody needs to say it.
I can't believe somebody done it.
Somebody needs to say it." Well, they're getting thicker and thicker. They're like turning into like ship ropes now.
Yeah,
You got like a whole doggone Mr. T chain around your neck now.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you right now, if y'all want to go there, them whole outfits, them whole liturgical get up,
I want no part.
they are
They're
costly.
expensive.
I want no part. I get the paper versions from the costume store after Halloween. I get the fake priest outfit from Party On. All right. Religiously Incorrect is brought to you by the Phillips Family Care of Businesses. Phillips Lawn Care Services has been in business for over 10 years. They do everything that has to do with the outdoors. Check them out. It's leaf season. You don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Fernando doesn't want to do it, but he wants to get paid. So call him at 330-219-7916. And while you're at it, check out Phillips Care Cleaning Service. They do house cleaning, carpet cleaning, floor cleaning, upholstery, wood floor cleaning, move in, move out, and all types of renovation and repair work on any type of building, commercial or residential. Check them out at 330-219-7916 or look them up on Facebook at Phillips Care LLC.
And we are also brought to you by Alliance Action, Alliance for Congregational Transformation, influencing our neighborhoods, guided by our faith traditions, shared values, and multicultural collaboration. We strive to develop a community of diverse leaders committed to raising awareness and seeking solutions to overcome poverty, racism, and social injustice. Please check us out if you have any housing issues, if you have any food insecurities, if you're dealing with anything, just call Action. Call me at 766-8476. God bless you.
Can I call you if I wasn't allowed to watch All Dogs Go to Heaven? When
Call
I was a kid?
Rosetta. Call Rosetta. She'll help you out.
Will y'all protest my mother?
I'm about to get a chain with my name over there and wear it with the
Flavor Flav. All right, well, Pastor Jeff, tell us what we're talking about tonight.
Man, you named the sermon. I forgot what you named it already.
Power to the people.
There we go. Power to the people. We are excited. We are excited to have with us again. And I know many of you latecomers, because y'all come to church late too. Y'all just Sunday night service, y'all come late.
Y'all
you were
ain't
not
saved.
here for the introduction, but we have with us a great guest tonight, Kayla Griffin, who is the president of the NAACP Cleveland chapter. Come on, give her another hand, y'all. Give her
Yeah, we're
another
going to give
hand.
y'all a second chance. Thank God for the bishop being in the house.
Amen.
Welcome, Kayla. Thank you for being our guest tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Amen. Amen. So I guess we want to start. We just want to talk about NAACP a little bit. NAACP was started in 1909,
Yep.
if I'm correct. It was started by some of our historic heroes like Ida B. Wells, W.E. Du Bois, a couple other ones. And, they have such a long history and such a great history. I kind of want to talk about, and I kind of want to start off talking about NAACP then and now.
Yeah.
Do you believe that the mission has changed?
Yeah, I mean, 100 years ago, what we were dealing with, it doesn't look the same, right? And so when NAACP was founded in 2009, for Cleveland, it was 2012, so we just as long. anti-lynching was the central focus of the NAACP. We wanted to make sure that Black people in the United States and in Canada, particularly, folks don't talk about Canada, but we're not getting lynched. We wanted to make sure that the federal government passed the anti-lynching law, which it took almost 100 years to do, over 100 years to do. But our branches look different. They don't operate the same as they did at the inception. And so it is evolving and it's changing. And then sometimes we see people, and similar to in the church, trying to get positions of power in the NAACP to really use it as a bully pulpit. And they're not focusing on the mission that comes down from the head and proliferating it into the community.
I've been hearing a lot that bully pulpit has become a huge word now. Talk about that for a minute.
Well, when people don't have an audience or influence of their own, they move to a place that has position and power so that they can say what they want and try to strong arm people into doing or acquiescing to their desires. And so, you know, when you are in a position of power, regardless if it's an NAACP, church, whatever, city council, whatever it is, you have to make sure that you are like really doing the will of the people as opposed to trying to strong arm people into doing what you want and utilizing the position in that regard. And so there's a lot of contention around whether or not the NAACP is still relevant, whether or not young people should be involved and connected, whether there is a passing of the torch and the ballot or the baton. And every NAACP is going to be different. So what we deal with up in Cleveland is not what we see here in Youngstown or in Warren. Our branch in Cleveland, we have one of the largest branches in the country. We have staff. I think there's only like 4 branches in the whole country that are even allowed to have staff because you have to have a certain amount of members in order to have staff.
Okay.
2,000, I think I've read 2,000. Y'all have over 2,000 branches
In the country?
in the country.
That sounds about right.
So about how many members do you have registered or paid memberships in Cleveland?
We have, I think it's about 1,300 or 1,300. Yeah, 1,300
Wow.
members on paper.
Wow.
Now, how many people show up?
Oh, it's like church, right? It's like Bible
Very
study.
much like church.
Like who comes to prayer meeting?
Very much so.
Gotcha.
Very much so.
You talked about the relevancy issue, and I think that is something I'll date back to about Trayvon Martin and on. Mm-hmm. That last spate of the Black Lives Matter movement, Stand Your Ground, and the police killings and all of that, where there's been this tension between the traditional kind of stakeholders and standard bearers of the movement, if you want to call it that, equality movement, anti-violence, anti-racism, and new generations who just aren't feeling those mechanisms and methods anymore.
Sure.
And, obviously clergy are a part of that.
Sure.
The church feels like it's not or is not always the most prevalent element in that. And then our traditional Black organizations, NAACP being one of them, looked at as sometimes antiquated or out of step. And I see some parallel between the church and Black organizations that, quite frankly, seem to be run by church folk a lot or kind of sort of church folk. And it's like we all kind of stuck in the same rut where there's some progress in some places, but in a lot of places it feels like there's just this disconnect. Mm-hmm. And what do you think? And do you mind telling us where you fit in generationally, number one, and what do you feel like has not been working that you've been able to work out? Maybe some boulders you haven't been able to move yet, and how you feel younger people might engage better.
You said a lot.
I know.
You said a lot. One, I am, my uncle calls me a dinosaur in my generation, but I'm educated, so I have privilege in that regard. Not only am I educated, one of my minors is in political science. So I understand government, and I think that a lot of folks do not understand how government works.
Okay.
So we got to start there. When we talk about the divide between how we do movement work, people who are strict abolitionists that do not understand government are always going to be frustrated because they can't get anything done.
Right.
NAACP and its and legacy organizations tend to understand government, and so they tend to work the inside game, right? And so if you compare it to civil rights movement, you got the people who are seated around the table who can have the conversations with the politicians and the president and the lawmakers in order to try to advance policy. But you also do need the people on the outside threatening to burn it down. Mm-hmm. Because the politicians around the table don't feel like they need to move unless they have pressure and they have somebody that's holding their feet to the fire.
Right.
I think since we have seen movements happening post Trayvon Martin, we have a divide in that it's either or. And what we should be operating is a both and. We have to, everybody has to play their part. And so because I am educated and because I have privilege and because I have a legacy organization that I can wield the name of as a bully pulpit, I am invited into some rooms that some of my colleagues are not. But I can't get in a room and slam my colleagues because I need them banging on the doors and the windows, threatening to burn it down.
I like that.
I love it.
I like that. I like that perspective. And what you said about every organization having its own role, and NAACP has always been that legislative, policy shaping, influencer role. I do think that role is hurt. And again, I keep putting parallels between ministry and advocacy groups and like NAACP, that you assume that people are like you when there might be a lot of people who are in similar positions to you who are not like you.
Sure.
And might have the position in the name, but not necessarily the ability to effectively wield either the influence with those in power and effectively build connections with those on the street and on the ground.
Sure.
And I feel like that's personally something that I think has become a great frustration, because a lot of people in the younger set, 50 and under, probably 60 and under, don't feel touched by our traditional advocacy groups and civil rights groups. In the same way they don't feel touched by the church. We're often antiquated,
right,
out of date, not using social media effectively, not meeting people where they are, and even willing to have the conversation if it's kind of outside the box. So can you tell us about any bridge building you've done between those elements where you've had, hey, I know my role, but I also know that there are other people, like you said, the burn it downers or the strict abolitionists. Like, I've tried to build generational bridges.
Yeah. Well, I am a part of a generation that certainly believes in abolition, right? Mm-hmm. To an extent, I believe in abolition. And I think the more that I do this work, the more...
Can you define for the audience what you mean when you mean abolition? Because I think most of us just have like history book John Brown abolitionist, but I don't think everyone makes the connection to what a 2023 abolitionist looks like.
Yeah, so abolition requires radical reimagination of our space. And it says that how we are operating in this current form and fashion is not sufficient for what we will be or where we need to go. I think it's Octavia Butler that says there are Black people in the future. And our current system does not want Black people or brown people to be, period. Like, whole stop. They don't want us to be. And so the more that I do this work, the more that I see reform is not sufficient, because reform says that we can fix a system, that the system is broken. But James Baldwin said the system isn't broken. The system is operating just how it's supposed to operate. It was intended to operate like this. And so we have to figure out and think of and dream of a new way of operation. And that's what abolition says. It means that we need to abolish the systems in and how they are and radically reimagine a new system where we can all flourish and thrive. And I think that's what the thrust of the gospel really is, right? Like, we don't tend to equate the two, but Jesus came as an abolitionist of a system, right? He's like, I'm going to fulfill this so that you no longer have to do this, right? And it got him killed. And so I think folks be half-stepping when they think about Jesus and like, oh, he's the, the lamb, but like, he's also the lion, right?
Absolutely.
And I think the church should be the ones that are leading in radical reimagination of how Black people, the Black church specifically,
Yes.
of how Black people are to show up in society.
Agreed.
And show up in our communities and such. But I think the Black church has gotten too comfortable, just like our legacy organizations have gotten too comfortable with having people, power, position, and money. And money, right? And so when we get people, when we get our pews filled, when we get the building fund, we cool. And we don't actually want to think about what it can be if we were all flourishing. And so, yeah, our NAACP, when I came in, I started volunteering because people ask like, oh, you work for the NAACP. And I'm like, I don't work for the NAACP.
Okay.
I am a volunteer. The president is a glorified volunteer because I got a title.
Right.
But we are all volunteers. I don't get no money off of this, right?
I'm out.
I don't get no checks from this. But when I started volunteering, I started in 2016. I came in under an administration that was fired up. We say fired up, ready to go. They're fired up, ready to go. But there were some people within the organization that wasn't moving how they needed to move. And the young folks were like, okay, we done sat around and watched this for far too long, and you are too comfortable. You are not listening to the voice of the people, yada, yada, yada. So we gonna rise up and do a coup. So
That's what I'm talking about.
we recruited. I was the chair of the young adults. That was my first position in the NAACP. I was the chair of the young adult committee. I recruited my butt off, increased membership, made sure that all of these people who were members came to vote.
And then got yourself
Come
elected.
on.
And then we got a new administration. However, even in the overturn of the administration, we were having kitchen table conversations with the elders. How do we do this? How do we make sure we're not pissing too many people off?
Well, how do they take that? I mean, what's the relationship like now? Because you're talking about a total flip. So y'all
it
cool?
wasn't a total flip because we had elders on the slate.
Okay.
And so we made sure, even when we did the coup, that we had a young vice president, a young woman president as on the slate. We had an elder bishop from the church who was a staple. We had he was the first vice president. We had a young second vice president. We made sure that we diversified our slate, right?
But you demanded a seat at the table.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
On the slate.
And not just
Gotcha.
demanded, but like did the work in order to flip it.
Okay.
Because people talking about, all right, give me a seat. Doing all that talking ain't going to get you nowhere. Go get some volunteers.
Right.
Go increase membership. Let them know when the vote is.
Right.
Have them come out to vote.
But see, I want to tear into that because that is what we would normally associate with doing the work out there. Getting people to vote like in, political elections, get our people. We have this like fear of doing that same type of work within our own community or within our own organizations and churches. We're like out of, I call it toxic politeness and sort of a toxic form of respect. What you just described, I think is incredibly effective and needed in a lot of spaces.
It's organizing.
But we're not willing
It's
to
organizing.
organize against or with ourselves for transformation. Because of what you said about the elders and all, I've just watched so many of our organizations, churches, whatever. I had that exact same conversation when I came into my church, which was very traditional, and younger people were like, well, where's our space? I said, your space is getting organized. And it can be as simple as, no disrespect to whoever's probably watching on our church that was with me when I came 8 years ago, but it could be as simple as, we don't like these choir rules. I said, well, join the choir and vote and change them.
That's it.
You know what I mean? But like, that feels like, well, that's offensive to my grandma, that older person who really loves those rules and doesn't want them changed. And that's the exact dynamic I feel like we run into with what you just described of doing the work, doing the organizing, but doing within as much as you do it without, so that you can become that organization, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely need strong leaders to allow for young people and people who are not the cornerstones or whatever to be able to do that. Now, you know, I say all of that, but the president at the time that recruited me to come into the organization, he wanted to see us take over and lead. He wanted to see us step up. And so we had his support.
So it takes that to get to that
I think
place.
so too, because people don't want to buck against the president, right?
Right.
Typically.
I do.
Typically. So he gave us that leeway. Now, we didn't, at the time, I should say that too, he supported our slate because he was running for elected office. So he was stepping down anyway.
Gotcha.
Okay. So we didn't have to deal with the president opposing us. It was other folks in the membership.
That's I mean, passing that baton is just absolutely important. It's something that I think every organization should have, that somebody willing to pass the baton, especially to younger generations. But you had talked a little bit earlier about your uncle, and many people who may not know, he may be watching right now. Bishop watches a lot. Bishop Paramore is her uncle.
Shook! That's my man.
And we and you are elder at his church, but you are
an elder here?
Yeah, she's an elder.
Okay, start the show over.
I just got my papers like last month.
All right. Praise the Lord.
Elder Griffin.
So you are an elder. You are the president of NAACP. And so with the question I guess I want to try to get to is, as you are, because you deal a lot in politics. And so when you, and NAACP is a 501c3, right?
We got a C3, C4. We operate under this branch as a C4.
Okay.
Little nuance there, but.
So how do you, and because this is something we're dealing with a lot around here, is do you support any candidates at all? Do you at all, not actually say, you know, under the auspices of the president? I know you can't say this, but as a person, you have the right in, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how do you go about that? Because I think around here the lines are being blurred a lot.
No, I think there's ignorance. I don't think there's blurred lines. I think there's ignorance around what is appropriate.
Right.
And then there are some people blurring lines of basically political campaigning and endorsement.
Right.
Is the key word, the E
Got
word.
it. So, as the NAACP is not allowed to endorse any candidate.
Right.
We can endorse issues, but not candidates.
There you
and that
go.
is very, I'm an attorney, so I have to be very careful. And I be trying to tell people I ain't about to do nothing to lose my license. I ain't about to do nothing to get myself in jeopardy and trouble. As a C4, you can only endorse issues. You cannot endorse candidates. And so we never use the NAACP and the label and the brand in order to support any one person. We only do that for issues. And I know we're going to get to the issues that are on the ballot later. As a individual, I, particularly in Cleveland, where I wield and sit over an organization, I don't endorse candidates either, because I don't want people to see my endorsement as a person as the NAACP's endorsement. And if and when I need to call that person to the carpet, I need to be able to do so. And so
I like that.
You asked me if I knew a particular politician. I know them. We have a relationship. You're not going to see me pictured with that person, though. You're not going to see me, we'll be friendly, we chit chat, but I'm not going to be pictured so that somebody can utilize that in their campaign and say, oh, I got that. No, you don't. And you have to have wisdom in, operating in that vein. And I always, always, always want to be a person of integrity. And so integrity is super important to me. I don't want the lines to ever be blurred.
Right.
And when it is time to have to call politicians to the carpet, I need to be able to do so without the community thinking that, oh, we just chummy and we got a relationship like that.
I love it.
I feel it. Now, when you get to the place where you're platforming, sometimes what we don't see is endorsement, but we see platforming. Basically, like what you just said, being chummy publicly. everybody has their events, their banquets, their campaigns, their dinners, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not going to come out and say it, but I'm going to say their name a lot, or I'm going to make sure their ad is in the front of the book, or they get a chance to speak, or whatever it is. Do you draw those lines as well and say, hey, this isn't the place for that? Or is it, hey, you still have a function to fulfill, you can still be a part of this?
Yeah.
Like, hate to act so on the nose, like, if you have candidates who are running for office, do you say, hey, this is not the year where you can participate in anything that we're doing, like in a public fashion?
Yeah, so an example would be our Freedom Fund. Our Freedom Fund is probably our largest event. We bring out close to 1,000 people at our Freedom Fund.
I've never been invited, but okay.
You are more than welcome to come. Tickets are $150.
I'll be there. Second, Rosetta. Somebody's paying for this.
But yeah, we at our Freedom Fund, we make sure that we invite all the candidates, and that's what keeps you safe. That you invite all of the candidates. Whoever shows up, they're more than welcome to show up. That don't mean they can get a platform. That don't mean they can get a mic. But everybody is invited. Now, what we tend to do though is to give space or room for any seated people who are actually running positions.
Right.
So our congressperson, our mayor will have a letter in the booklet. Our congressperson will have a letter in the booklet. If they happen to be running at the same time, they know not to put nothing in there, that is trying to drum up election and votes.
Gotcha.
But yeah, this coming year, 2024, it's a presidential year. So we anticipate everybody will be coming through. Our 11th congressional, district, where we've had the likes of Marcia Fudge was the congresswoman, Stephanie Tubbs Jones was the congresswoman, Lou Stokes was the congressman. He was the first black elected congressperson. Like, that is where it's a political stronghold in Cleveland, right? So everybody want to come through, and we anticipate there's going to be a lot of politicians working the room. You are more than welcome to work the room. You cannot have a mic, though.
Gotcha.
Come on.
I love it.
So we want to switch gears because I know one of the things you definitely, you have been very strong on these two issues that we have coming up. And so let's go ahead and jump into issue one. And let's just talk about it for a second, because obviously a lot of Christians especially evangelical Christians are very, abortion is what it is,
pro-life.
Pro-life.
You got a
is
pro-life
pro-life.
side and a pro-choice.
And so let's break that down and why it's not just a pro-life issue.
And to be clear, a lot of black churches are very antsy about speaking to this at all.
Absolutely.
Because it does tear into a lot of Christian values and values that people hold around abortion. And so that's why it's so important.
And so I know that a lot of, and especially the Democratic Party, is saying that this is not a partisan issue. This is a nonpartisan issue. So, let's break it down in your words.
So let me take a step back for the viewers. We have 2 statewide ballot initiatives on the ballot. First and foremost, when we get these type of issues, it means that people are not satisfied with how our lawmakers have governed. It means that people have taken petitions statewide because they have been dissatisfied for far too long with how our elected officials are governing. They have raised a lot of money. They got a lot of signatures. They went through a lot of bureaucracy and red tape in order to get this on the ballot. They got it on the ballot. Our lawmakers tried to change the rules and move the goalposts over the summer in order for it not to even come up for a vote statewide. So that's what we're dealing with, right? The issue that we are talking about when it comes to issue one is not just abortion, it's reproductive rights. It's the umbrella of reproductive rights. And it includes everything up to abortion, up to and including abortion, but it's not just abortion. And NAACP, I should say, has endorsed both issue 1 and issue 2. Issue 2 is legalization of recreational marijuana. But we've endorsed both because we absolutely believe that reproductive rights are a matter between the person and the doctor. And the state should not govern. Now, let me dive into the church thing.
Dive in.
Come on,
Elder.
swim. Go swimming. We
Come
in
on,
deep
Elder.
water now.
So I just had this conversation and talked to my home church about what was on the issues. I came in, I said, I'm going to talk to you about what is on the issues because we are at a church. Churches are C3. I cannot tell you how to vote. I will not be telling you how to vote. I say this many, many times. They still ask me, well, what should I vote for? I'm not telling you how to vote. Pray, use the Holy Spirit. And I'm going to tell you exactly what is on the ballot. Okay. The ballot says that a woman who is pregnant will be able to get an abortion and have any other reproductive rights that her and her doctor deem fit. And if she needs to get an abortion, she can do so up until viability. I went through the whole explanation of viability. We got folks who are logging in, so please Google what viability is. But like viability is when a fetus or a baby, I hesitate to say baby, but a fetus can live outside of the womb and actually survive. Okay? Mm-hmm. There was somebody in the congregation that said, well, the Bible says, and we believe, and I just looked at her and said, okay, if that's what you say, because my Bible says, choose you this day.
Oh, she went there.
I wanted to go there. I said, okay.
Okay.
Because we serve a God of choice. Mm-hmm. We serve a God. If we get down to the just the life choice, we serve a God of choice.
Okay.
Right? You have a choice. You have to deal with the repercussions of your choice, but we all have choices.
Okay.
Right?
Can I just ask quick because I want to. The viability is that 10 weeks?
No,
It's not 10 weeks. Okay.
Ooh.
Okay.
I don't even think 10 weeks is out of the first trimester yet.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. So viability can be between 22 and 24 weeks.
Okay.
And that's what my doctor and nurse friends have told me. A baby can survive outside of the womb between 22 and 24 weeks, depending on their viability. Okay.
So that's health issues, complications,
Sure.
organ structure, all of those things that go into it.
Sure.
Gotcha.
Currently, I should say that currently abortion is legal in the state of Ohio. Okay.
Okay.
It is legal. You can get an abortion up to 22 weeks in Ohio.
What were the recent restrictions that were put on?
What the people who are advocating against this are not talking about the 6-week ban that Governor Mike DeWine has already signed into law and was law for a short stint.
Okay.
There was a judge out of Franklin County Hamilton County down in Cincinnati that put an injunction on that to say we're going to hold that because it doesn't seem proper and right. It seems like it's you've gone too far.
It's an overreach.
Passing it. Yes, it's an overreach. So currently, abortion is legal, but there is a 6-week ban that has already been signed and that there is an injunction from a lower court. Now, the Supreme Court of Ohio is waiting to see what will happen with this election and whether or not they are going to lift that injunction or allow it to stand. Okay. So if this ballot initiative does not pass, given the current makeup of the court at the Supreme Court of Ohio, we will see this 22-week or this 6-week ban reinstated in our state. That has no exclusions for rape, incest, and ectopic pregnancy. Okay. So that means after 6 weeks, no person will be allowed to terminate a pregnancy under any circumstance.
Question's been asked, and Scott brought it up, one of our viewers. and this has come up with a lot of our brothers and sisters about parental consent and the idea that children will be able to move forward with certain decisions without their parents, because, as he stated, it does. And some people say it doesn't refer to women or grown or any minimum age, and I don't know. Maybe you could clarify that for us. And where does the parental right argument come into play? What is accurate in what's being given in the parental right argument? What is inaccurate in what is given? And maybe what already exists, because I think sometimes fear-mongering is put up against what already exists, as if it's just being thrown in now, when the law has already allowed, like you said, as of right now, up to 22 weeks, as long as the injunction stays. This has been allowed, but how has that affected young people, young girls?
Yeah. So the parental rights argument is definitely a fear tactic that the far right has been utilizing. And we've seen this parental right argument in more than just reproductive rights. We're seeing it with like CRT, book bans, schools, masking, all of the things.
But can you explain that and what the text says, or what it allows for or doesn't?
Let me just put it out that this has nothing to do with parental rights. Like, that is a fear tactic.
All right.
So I need to say that explicitly. I want to read through the language really quickly, because there's only 6 bullet points of what we're voting on within this amendment. It establishes the Constitution, in the Constitution for the state of Ohio, an individual right to one's own reproductive medical treatment, including but not limited to abortion. That's the first one. It creates a legal protection for any person or entity that assists a person in receiving reproductive medical treatment, including but not limited to abortion. It prohibits the state from directly or indirectly burdening, penalizing, prohibiting abortion before an unborn child is determined to be viable, unless the state demonstrates that it is using the least restrictive means. Okay. It grants a pregnant woman's treating physician the authority to determine on a case-by-case basis whether an unborn child is viable. It allows only the state to prohibit an abortion after the unborn child is determined by a pregnant woman's treating physician to be viable, and only if the physician does not consider the abortion necessary to protect the woman's life or health. And it allows any unborn child to be aborted at any stage of pregnancy, regardless of viability, if the treating physician determines the abortion is necessary to protect the pregnant woman's life or health.
Okay. So question, and I heard two things that I know what they're going to stick out to. I know they're going to stick out because they stick out to me. Number one, you said woman. Is that defined? And again, is there an age attached to woman, or is woman basically any person of childbearing age who is capable of becoming pregnant?
It's the latter.
Okay.
It's the latter. And before we go to your second question, because it doesn't mean that kids can just go get abortions, but Ohio had a very egregious case that happened under the 6-week ban.
I remember.
I did not mention this when I was at my home church because I thought it would be I thought it would sway the people too much.
Okay.
But I really think it's important to name, because I'm not in a C3 and I can say what I want here. Mm-hmm. But
it's religiously incorrect. You can tell the people how to vote if you want to.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, we endorsed it, and I'll be voting yes, because for a 10-year-old child to be raped and don't know, because she's 10, don't know what's happening with her body, right? And the 6-week window comes and goes, and then is discovered that she is pregnant and has to go across the border in order to get an abortion. And then her abuser is arrested and brought up on charges. Under the 6-week ban, that would not be. She literally had to, this is an example.
She would have had to carry that child to term.
Right.
To term.
To her own detriment, to her own health. A 10-year-old. Yeah, I agree.
May or may not been able to survive a pregnancy. Ohio, we have one of the worst maternal and infant mortality rates in the country, right? We're not talking about that, right? Don't nobody want to talk about how Black women are dying in order to bring children into this world in the first place, right? in Cleveland, where I'm at, it's so many kids in the system that they got kids sleeping at the Jane Etna building in the hallway because they can't find foster homes for them and placement for them, right? We ain't talking about that when we talk about this reproductive thing.
Okay.
The other thing is...
Scott's asking, is that the entire story or is there more? What are you asking? If the 10-year-old came on to the abuser or something? I mean, what are we asking?
And I just
went
was
to that one. Don't
Well, I'm just,
don't let me get to that one.
I mean, yeah, I get it. But I mean, what else does there need to be more with a 10-year-old being
right.
abused?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
if
I just want to say
I don't know what else you want
6
there to be
weeks.
more of.
Me and my wife did not know we were pregnant.
Right.
After 6, that's not a long time.
Most people don't.
That's not a long time. It's just not. So
Jameson said, I don't believe in abortions. To me, that is committing murder. In that.
Wait, I got one more.
Okay,
And I
please.
can talk
I
about
got
this. The other thing is that like the 6-week ban doesn't consider ectopic pregnancy. This is
Right.
when a woman has a miscarriage and the fetus has to be removed from the body in order for the woman to be able to like live. Like she can't be carrying around a dead body,
oh wow.
right?
So you said don't call for that.
They do not allow for
It doesn't
that.
allow
They don't
it.
allow for the removal
Wow.
of the dead fetus.
That's the first time I've heard of that one.
So because they don't want to talk about
Right,
this,
right,
right?
right.
They want us. They don't care if black women die. They don't care. They don't care if women die. They don't care if women die. That is what it comes down to. They don't care about the life of women.
But what's being balanced in the arguments that I hear is, and that's the phrase I wanted to get to. He said it committing murder.
Ohio still has a death penalty. So if you want to talk about committing murder, let's go.
Yeah,
make
yeah,
sure that-
but in the text of the legislation or the proposed legislation, it says unborn child, and there's a lot surrounding what is a life,
Yep.
and that a life is being terminated. And so when we start saying, and I'm just giving the argument that's given. We're saying we don't care about the women dying and all of that, but the other side or the argument says, well, you don't care about the children dying. And there seems to be this either or kind of thing going on where
It's
we're
a
either
both and.
protecting I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying that it seems to be painted that way, that the innocent life, Scott, I really want to address that because I counsel a lot with people. You'd be surprised at how many mothers live with their abusers and the molesters. And I don't know what world we live in where we think that just makes something okay, or what reasons a person might not report a rape, or the type of abuse or threat might be over their life that we don't know. But I know that since I've intimately dealt with it, I would temper my understanding of such a tragic situation and why somebody didn't report or may not have reported as fast as whatever, because that's the other part of women's rights, is abuse, is domestic violence,
Right.
is the fact that there are reasons people don't leave their abusers, or even the people that may abuse their children.
Absolutely.
I don't care what commercials, plays, or what we preach. There's a reality there that we might not be living in, or maybe somebody who did a better, whatever you think is a better job of relieving it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's such an easy, clear-cut thing. Like, well, aha, she lived with the abuser, so now it's okay. I just don't get I'm not going to do that. But I agree with you. Could you keep calm? He's flowing with us. He's one of our regulars, Scott. He's our evangelical buddy, and so I understand that. But I think the point of the legislation is that it takes the burden off of the state and it puts it with the woman, her doctor, and whatever her beliefs are to do what they feel is right. If I'm correct,
That's precisely
on that.
it.
Okay.
And
So there is no responsibility on the state.
No, because
Right.
it's not the state's duty to manage how a woman her and her doctor says that, her reproductive system should operate.
Right.
And I think it's important to this is a decision that needs to be made with a doctor, not the state. The state
Yeah.
doesn't get to say, you have to carry this fetus, unborn baby. It's still a fetus until it's able to be viable. And that's the thing, we're killing a life. It's not a life because it cannot sustain outside of the womb until
and I think to that point,
viability.
a lot of us are being a little cowardly in the ministry about really tackling the scriptures and not cherry picking and making up meaning on the scriptures about life. Because the Bible is more complicated, the Judeo-Christian values that we base a lot of our kind of blanket beliefs off of are really complicated.
Absolutely.
We often utilize Old Testament scriptures and don't ask Jews what they meant when they said what they said. You know how you're a constitutional originalist?
Oh, for sure.
We don't ask Hebrews what they really mean by what they believe. Or we find evangelical ones or messianic ones who agree with us anyway, who are already, John Hagee's best friend or whatever. So, that's not the same as actually, because I've been in those conversations and gone to the Holy Land and they're like, nah, we don't believe like
Jews
that.
The Jews actually support this legislation.
They actually do.
Because the woman's life is more valuable than the unborn child.
That's actually scripture. That's
so if we want to talk
Testament.
Bible, right? Like,
there's actually scripture that speaks to if a woman is harmed and she's pregnant with a child, and it's
absolutely.
And if a harm has come to her, so I just wanted to lift that because it's become such an, and I know it's a passionate argument, and I believe that it's a sincere argument for people who believe.
It's not.
Who believe?
Let me tell you why.
Okay.
Abortion was not an issue until the mid-'70s.
You're correct.
Why was it an issue? Because white folks realized that black and brown folks were outnumbering them and outpacing them, and that they were going to be the minority.
And the religious right needed tentpole issues
in order to win the vote.
You're not incorrect.
Hello,
You're
Mike.
not incorrect.
Talk.
You are not incorrect.
Hello.
You talking. Go ahead, Elder.
Here we are. They have implemented a plan from the mid-'70s in order to make sure that the population could not dwindle enough, A, so that white people wouldn't be the minority, and B, which we don't talk about enough, so that they would continue to have a free or reduced labor system in order to populate the factories. That's why they're so against unions. That's why they want people to basically be slaves, because this country was built on free labor and then in sharecropping, extremely reduced labor in order for us to have our profit, in order for us to maintain the facade of this great nation. And there are far too many people who are not working, and the labor force is plummeting. And so if you listen to the people who are making the laws, if you listen to the Republicans, either in the state or on the federal level, because our new Speaker of the House has been on the floor talking about, we need to stop abortion because we don't have enough people working. Out his mouth. So if we want to continue to produce babies so that we can have enough people in our manufacturing, then we need to implement laws to say you cannot have an abortion. We don't care if you die.
You hear that, Mike? She called you a slave. Go ahead.
Listen, and Jeff and I have been in this position where we have often been approached and sometimes accosted by our contemporaries of another persuasion. And they throw rates, how much higher the rate of abortion is in black communities than white communities, and this, that, and the other.
That's because white women ain't going to record.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
There it is.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
You said it.
I've said it so many times. Because the black poor person has to go to the public welfare available health center, and Becky can go to the private doctor who does not record the procedure and doesn't have to report it. And it's not the same. And it's never been the same. Just like welfare has been blown up of who's really on welfare. Just like the drug epidemic and who's really doing the drugs as opposed to who's going to jail for the drugs. Just like crimes being black on black versus crimes of proximity. It's how it's framed by people in power, and we're not willing to have those courageous conversations in the church, and so we just try to whittle it down to what I think are very simplistic. Well, you're either pro-life or you're pro-choice, or you're one or the other. And it's like, no, I'm very much pro-life. I'm pro-whole life from the cradle to the grave, and pro-equity and pro-opportunity, and I think that that's a courageous conversation. And then when we can't do it, when we can't have that courageous conversation, we just jump back to talking points that rile people up.
Most people who are pro-life are not pro-life. They're anti-abortion, because if they were pro-life, they would be pro-life from the cradle into the grave.
That's it.
And the fact that Ohio still has death penalty, and the fact that Ohio doesn't care about little black kids, the fact that we can have kids being missing and out of our cities, the fact that we can have so many folks dying, and our infant mortality as high as it is, they don't care about the actual life. They just don't want abortion. We need to stop allowing people to hide behind the frame pro-life and just call it anti-abortion.
I want to, because we had about 15 minutes left.
let's
And
jump.
I don't want to miss, and I want to say this. I want to say this especially to the audience, because I've heard it said so often that we don't have to worry about getting people out to vote, because especially black people in particular, because it is abortion and weed is on the ballot, and black people are going to go and vote for abortion and weed. Don't listen to that. Get out
And vote.
And vote.
And take 3 people with you.
Come on.
Jeff
son.
wants to talk about the devil's lettuce now, so he is
They call it the devil's lettuce.
Jeff-
That ooh wee, baby.
that sticky icky. He wants to talk about it.
Come on, man. Let's talk about
What
the
is
weed, man.
issue 2? Because most of the conversation we've seen has been issue 1.
Right. Yeah.
Most people do not know what issue 2 is about, and can we in 10 minutes or so get that in?
So
What is
issue 2 has a whole lot more provisions that I would urge people to go pull up your sample ballot and read through it.
Okay.
Or just go to the Secretary of State's website and find the language that is going to be on the ballot. I suggest go to get your sample ballot so you can see exactly what you're voting on. But issue 2 will legalize and regulate marijuana for people 21 and older.
Okay.
21 and older.
Sylvester Patton. I'm going to
Similar,
Congratulations, Patton.
like they do for alcohol.
Okay.
So it will be regulated. It will be taxed. There will be revenue that comes into the state. It means that people can consume it recreationally without a marijuana card. There's still provisions on how much a person can have, how many grams a person can have. They can actually start to grow it. It's regulations on how many plants a person can have. So this one is a lot more in depth than issue 1, actually. I tell people, please go read it.
But the NAACP supports issue 2 officially as an organization?
Yeah.
Because we haven't heard that locally. So the national NAACP
supports it, because we need to, one, get away from the criminalization of marijuana.
Right.
And so the NAACP...
Is my cousin getting out of jail, though? Because he went in.
That's the question. There it is.
Everybody wants to know.
It's not retroactive.
So it's not retroactive to anything that has to do with sentencing or previous sentencing. Does it change sentencing guidelines?
Yes.
Okay.
It no longer is a misdemeanor or a felony to have marijuana unless you have it in excess of the grams that are allowed it.
And a lot of officers will tell us now. We've had Pastor Peterson on, who is also an officer. He's told us that there is very much Marlon's going to get his seeds right now. Hey, as soon as you said that, Marlon said, I got a seed in the ground.
You need to go vote first and let this mug pass. Then go get you your seed in the ground.
Now, let me ask you this, because I know, and you just talked about it's going to be taxed and, you know, all governed and all that stuff. But they also said the same thing about the lottery. You know, that we're gonna the school's gonna make all kind of money on this. Is there has been anything?
And I still ain't got no
the
job for
lottery.
it.
The lottery.
Yeah. So when they talked about when the lotteries were implemented and all that, that there was going to be this big kind of what would you say, like windfall, if you would. But what ended up happening was, in most states where lotteries were implemented, that money did go, but sometimes often equal amounts got siphoned off, or education funding got cut in other ways. So how do we prevent that? Because we know that political games are played, and like you said, people don't care about black bodies.
Yeah.
So if they can find ways to cut that marijuana income out from black communities, they will.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do we protect her?
So you need people in positions of power
To regulate.
so that they can be at the table and make sure that these things aren't happening, right?
Gotcha.
We are so when I presented this at the church, at my home church, somebody was like, "Isn't that already law?" And I'm like, for companies, for people who can distribute,
millionaires.
yeah,
Yep.
not me and you. We can't go out here and start a cannabis company. We ain't got the money. We don't got the capital. We don't have the backing of that. But the bill does, one of the provisions, it says it establishes the Cannabis Social Equity and Jobs Program, and requires the Department of Development to certify program applications based on social and economic disadvantage. So Black people, poor people, people who have been impacted by this. It defines social disadvantage to include members in a racial or ethnic minority group, disability status, gender, or long-term resident in a area of high unemployment. Then it goes on and talks about the agencies that will be established. It will create 5 funds in the state treasury: the Adult Use Tax Fund, the Cannabis Social Equity and Jobs Fund, the Host Community Cannabis Fund, and the Substance Abuse and Addiction Fund, and the Diversion of Cannabis Control and Tax Commission Fund. These are just 2 provisions that I read out of almost 15 provisions.
Gotcha.
Wow.
This cannabis has been very extensively researched. It is trying to rectify a wrong. Again, it doesn't go back and do retroactive.
Okay.
Like it's not going to let people out. But we know that states have already tried to start to right the wrong.
Right.
The federal government certainly has. They have been releasing people who have been arrested for cannabis. Like there are diversion programs in order to make sure that people who are addicted, not just to cannabis, but any any addiction, have diversion as opposed to jail. And so we are supporting this because marijuana should not be a criminal matter.
Okay.
Again, we already have rich people who have come in and started to profit off of us when it comes to cannabis. And so at this point, just regulate it, decriminalize it.
Will it be, you will no longer need a license to get, you could just buy it.
You can just have it.
Just have it.
You can just, like you have cigarettes, like you
But does it,
grow your own collard greens.
will it still be
Collard
based
greens
upon
and
the
weed,
job?
Thanksgiving.
Based upon the job, say, you know what I'm saying? If
No,
I
anybody 21 and
I understand
older.
that. I'm
Right,
saying,
but how does this affect job
how does it affect my
interviews?
job?
How does it affect
Yeah.
drug testing? How
Yeah,
does this affect-
your job can still regulate and say, like, people who got CDLs and drive and stuff, they don't care nothing about you got a medical card. You better not be behind.
But you don't need a medical card anymore. It's
No.
But they're still gonna drug test you.
Yeah, your job can still drug test you. They can enter prohibitions and say you are not permitted to smoke.
So they're still allowed to do that.
Yeah,
and I think that's the thing that we need to make clear to our people, that even if this were legal, things like employers, colleges, sports, they're still going to uphold their standards.
Right.
And rightfully so. It's the same as being inebriated in a way. If you're not prepared or able to provide a function or put yours or somebody else's life at risk. And I think that needs to be clarified, not as if it's not, but among us. This is not some free-for-all where everybody's just out here doped up. But I guess the question is, how does the church think about this? Because weed has been an illegal substance for so many years. It lives in this different category in the minds of the saints, than other legal.
We saw what happened with the bishop when he said what he said. What he wanted to grow, and how the church.
Pastor Bryant said he wanted he wanted to do you got all that land. Hey, we got some land in a second. I mean, what?
Listen, the church does not function as the world functions. We can support decriminalization. That does not mean that we have to be consumers.
So I can't start.
I'm not telling you what you can and cannot do, but your Holy Ghost should be able to tell you what you
Ryan
can and
Mike
cannot
over there,
do.
they both go. They both go to his church. They both like, go ahead.
That's the whole reason they joined. Big Mike, you got something you want to ask? Because I know he's chomping at the bit. He's got a vested interest in this conversation.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Ernest Byers.
Ernest,
I'm trying, because if he giving out money for starting these weed farms, I'm getting one.
Exactly. Several new endowment funds set up. If black folk did not know what endowment funds were and set up to receive, you stand little chance to get this funding and distribute in the community. You are correct.
Yeah.
And that's a fear that even though this will all be set up, the same players will still come in and swallow up. And we'll talk about equity and we'll talk about this. But we notice, like, when people are gatekeepers of these large grant programs, federal funding programs and all of that, and it becomes top heavy, administrative, this, that, and the other. And that's my fear is, again, too many of us in many communities like ours are not prepared to appropriately, and by the way, and with integrity, take advantage of these programs the right way.
Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Yeah, first off, I want to say that I am an advocate for recreational use. my job put out a statement when they passed the law for medical. Our job put out a statement saying that, okay, it might be legal if you have a medical card, but here at this particular facility, we are going with the federal law.
Okay.
So which means, if you have an accident and you get tested, you're going to be fired pretty much.
Gotcha.
The second thing, you guys were talking about the resources and all of that, with it being legal recreationally. I have relatives in Denver, and they do see a difference. Well, they do see the funds being used, schools, computers, roads, stuff like that.
Okay.
But he said the issue that they're having now is when people are being pulled over, like with if you drink alcohol, you get pulled over, you get the breathalyzer,
Right.
you get the blood test and all of that. With the weed, they're having a hard time saying who's too high
What's the
and who's
threshold?
not.
Gotcha.
So that's what they're trying to figure out right now.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I'm in church and the choir member's facing the wrong way. I don't know. That one probably.
Caleb, Mike is our producer. He ain't said this much, and as soon as we start
He's
talking about weed,
interested.
he talking. He want to be on the
He was
show.
here early.
Vested interest.
He was here early.
No, see, I talk a lot. No, my wife actually has a medical card.
Okay.
And it's helped her tremendously. That's why I'm an advocate. So
I got you. No, I appreciate it. Need to get my wife one of them cards. Hey, baby, I love you.
How's it gonna help?
So,
I ain't gonna ask. How
is
to
there
help
anything else you would suggest that the church consider when it comes to this? The ramifications of it, the fears surrounding it, issues or questions you've been asked that as pastors? Because, I mean, again, I want to go back to the beginning and end where we did at the beginning. I've watched pastors, particularly black pastors, avoid these two issues like the plague. Issue one, in August, was painted more as like a legislative moving the goalposts, weakening our ability to make any change. Now, we all kind of knew it was based around this abortion. It was all tied together because there's been this journey we've been on. But, okay, Elder Carter, I can't have you on one. You're my most supportive associate minister.
Why?
I ain't gonna be getting no amens when I preach. They gonna be like,
Action is shot. Action is
they
shot.
gonna be like, cool, pastor. I'll be hooping and hollering and walking on pews. They be like, cool. But, what can we say and do and frame either of these issues in a way that can bring it back to the forefront? Because our people are gonna be affected the most by these issues.
Sure.
And it appears to me that the opponents of issue one have gotten far out ahead of the issue in the public space, as far as I've seen, particularly in this area, in the way that the opponents of issue one in August got ahead of it, and there was almost nothing on the other side for a good while. Now there's confusion because they're flipped.
Yeah.
Everyone's saying, I thought we already voted on issue one.
Right.
I thought y'all told us to vote no on issue one in August.
Right.
So
Well, that was intentional by the players at B.
Absolutely.
some of them are just taking the old signs y'all had and using them.
I was like, they have literally taken the signs.
Taking the old signs.
and
Which is slick, y'all. I
which
gotta
was
give it to you.
Whoa, this is blowing my mind, right?
White folk, y'all slick, man. Y'all
the
smart.
branding, I'm like, they literally took our
They took the
vote
whole branding.
no and just rebranded it, right? And just put the same.
And we
or
can't
just
even
took
wear the
signs.
shirts. I wore the shirt the other
I had to
day.
throw my shirt away. I was like, yo.
No,
Right.
but that was intentional, and they knew exactly what they were doing at the ballot commission. Like, they knew exactly what they were doing at the ballot commission and giving it the same number in order for confusion.
Absolutely.
The devil is the father of confusion, right? And so we have to educate our folks and take a stand. It is not time for the church to be silent in this issue, because Black women are dying in childbirth. Children are being raped and have no provision. Mothers are, listen, for a woman to conceive and bring a child into this world, that is the biggest miracle that we can probably see.
Absolutely.
And health risk.
It is a miracle because of all the health
Because it's
risks
a health risk.
that we go through, right? So many, and the older I get, the more, folks start talking in the church and then talk about how many miscarriages they had. And I'd be like, when you're sitting in the ladies' lounge, they start to share things with you. Imagine a woman having multiple miscarriages and not being able to have that fetus extracted. Just walking around with a dead body. That is what we are up against because the government does not care about the life of a woman. They just want the production of the people.
Sister Carter asked a question. We want to end on this. I know we're over time, but the consumption of weed burns up brain cells. Why aren't they talking about the repercussions? Just saying.
So does alcohol.
So does alcohol.
Oh, yeah, liver. I mean,
cigarettes.
Yeah.
But I guess the question is, what? Just because those? I mean, should we add another one? You know what I mean? I mean, just because we've gone and allowed that for so many years, does it make sense to add something else that can be a detriment to people?
Well, people smoke regardless or consume it regardless. There is a provision in there that I read that will allow for substance abuse treatment and counseling. And so we as the saints.
And is it?
That's gonna be like gambling. When they be like, gambling. They be like, gamble. Have a problem with gambling? Call 1-800 gamble.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be. And I mean, I know your wife. It's not going to be the. I mean, seriously. I mean, you had weed, you had cess, you had endo. You know what I mean? I think this is going to be regular weed.
Well, see,
no, you can go. You're going to go to the. Now you can go to the cannabis shop and get a good grade and not buy the stuff off the street that could be laced with all of that.
Right.
Okay.
That's the thing that I'm worried about now because everything's being laced with fentanyl now.
Yes.
Everything is.
Yes.
So, I mean,
this allows you to go and buy it in a dispensary and not have that risk.
So this is a fair question.
The
Scott asks, are there any wrong abortions?
Let your Holy Ghost lead you for that. But the church...
Because if somebody is doing it, because I know what they're saying. People do it for convenience. And I feel like if that is a person who really is reckless, I get it. God will judge that person for doing that.
God judge
and they
that
would.
person.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's my answer is that they would. If a person really was that flippant about
God
life.
Judge. Let God judge. Let God judge. But we as a church try to push our beliefs on everybody else, and everybody ain't fooling with us. Everybody in this nation is not a Christian. Everybody in this nation is not evangelical. Everybody in this nation does not abide by our practices and govern themselves how we as Christians and believers do. And they don't have to.
I agree. But that's just a hard hump to get over. No, I'm not saying but to you. I'm saying that's a hard hump for people who are ingrained in that what they think religious freedom is really Christian freedom.
Yeah.
Their idea of Christianity, by the way.
Right.
Their idea, the westernized, Europeanized, white evangelical Christianity.
Notion of Christianity.
And that's really what they mean when they say freedom of religion, because they sure don't want mosques on every corner and and other beliefs. So I just feel like that's the big bump. They do it. People do it because they don't want a baby with brown eyes. Should that abortion be allowed?
Oh Lord!
Well, these white women is taking their teenage daughters to get those private abortions because they don't want beige babies.
Yeah.
Listen, as we come to a close, I just want y'all to know we are happy to announce that Elder Carter has already led to it that we're going to have weed on a new Trumbull County mobile truck.
Why are you putting us in this?
We're going to have weed on a new Trumbull. And just so y'all know, as we get ready and close, we wanted to bring this up, but this is going to be coming up. And I really want y'all to be on the lookout for this. We're going to do a show on saved and sororities.
And fraternities.
And fraternities. We're going to do a show, Saved and Sororities.
She's already put up the Wiccan sign. She already put up the Wiccan sign.
You guys going to be doing this stuff?
What?
What is that?
The new shimmy.
That's the shimmy. That's that. Y'all be sending
You're not even allowed to do that. This is going to be like 4 dudes in red jackets outside ready to beat you down in the parking lot.
I do have one more question for you. What do you say to people in this newer generation that think the NAACP should change their name? The CP part.
Take out colored.
Yeah.
Join the NAACP and put it up for a vote at the convention. Just how we do anything else. It's a democratic organization.
Okay.
Cool.
Join and vote.
That's it.
That's
That's
the
it.
answer.
Let's join and vote.
Well, Kayla, you've been a pleasure. I mean, I appreciate the intelligence, the passion you brought to this, the information that you have shared with us. I think you've been a great advocate, and you're a wonderful representative of the NAACP.
Absolutely.
And I think that it's a breath of fresh air to see young people involved in this space. It's something we don't see enough of. And the stories and the anecdotes you've shared about how you've gotten there that have been very informative, and the issues you've given the perspective on. Whatever you do and whatever you believe, go vote and exercise
Please
your
vote.
right.
Please vote.
To vote and do what is well. I know how I'm going to vote, and I do support both issues. I support issue 1 and issue 2. And again, I feel that God is great and powerful enough and convict enough for people to do the right thing, and that it always baffles me that people are always anti-government until they're not anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, they're anti-government involvement, libertarian, whatever you want to call it, until it's their thing they want the government's hand on.
Yeah.
Then it turns into something else. So we can come take your guns. You can tell us about women. So anything else, Pastor Jeff, you want to add?
Just a great show. Thank you so much for coming down, taking the time to come all the way down here. Y'all, please give her a big
Give it up, give it up, give it up, give it up.
Thanks.
Election day is Tuesday, November 7th, but early voting has already begun.
started.
Polls will be open in the morning at your local board of election. And on Tuesday, all day from sunup to past sundown, November 7th will be election day. So get out there and vote. Hey, y'all, it's been great. Be sure to like us, follow us, stalk us, whatever you want to do. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, your favorite audio podcast website or app. Follow Religiously Incorrect Podcast. And we thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, take care.
See ya.
Peace.